The person things will fluctuate. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're awesome.
Okay, we can go ahead and get started. So if y'all come back online. So I want to introduce y'all to Brianna Henderson.
Okay.
So I'm not going to tell you a lot about her that I know because she's doing obviously it's life course, right? So we want to kind of hear from her. But I will say that I think we met maybe 2 years ago. It was pre-pandemic, so maybe it's been
2019.
Was it?
Yeah, it was 2019.
Yeah, and so she at a maternal mortality work group that from the DFW area, and as you'll see, there's a spark about her that draws you to her, wants to learn more from her, and since we met though, the work she's done has just grown and increased. Yeah, and I think you'll really enjoy hearing from her. So she knows who you are. If you'll just kind of introduce yourself and just say maybe one or two, just what you're interested in. Dorcas, you want to start?
Yes. So I'm Dorcas, and nice to meet you too. And I'm interested in community health, global health, and then a little bit of data analysis.
Interesting.
I'm Sarah. I'm interested in family planning and vaccinations.
Awesome. I can work with a nurse actually with that going on. So.
I'm Peripheral, and I'm interested in technology and effects.
Okay, that's interesting.
Hi, I'm Morgan. I am interested in a lot of things. Community health being like the biggest.
I'm Rebecca. I'm interested in nutrition health, global health, refugee health, all the disparities.
I'm just thankful to be here.
Let's see. I guess who do we see? We see Sally first.
Hi, I'm Sally. I'm interested in a lot of things in the maternal health field and just health promotion and infectious diseases.
Is it Jordan? Yeah, I just can't see where. Oh,
Yeah,
Jordan.
Hello, I'm Jordan. I'm interested in family planning and STD programs.
And Isabel?
Hi, I'm Isabel. I'm actually a TA for this class for this semester, second year student, and I'm interested in maternal mortality, sexual and reproductive health, and health disparities.
And Courtney.
Hello, my name is Courtney, and I'm also interested in maternal and child health and the health disparities that impact African American women during childbirth.
Alright, that is awesome. It's nice to meet all of y'all. And I'm so thankful to be here, to be able to educate you guys a little bit more. Have anybody ever heard of peripartum cardiomyopathy? No? See, yeah, so that's the global problem here. So with peripartum cardiomyopathy, it is a pregnancy-induced heart condition. It only affects pregnant women. Probably about the end of pregnancy, maybe like around 36 weeks, the heart kind of starts to, I would say maybe flutter or something like that. It starts showing signs of certain things. But the women that are pregnant, they miss the signs because when the swelling and, that comes with pregnancy alone. And so it affects the heart and it puts you in heart failure if it's not caught in enough time. So they can treat the actual symptoms, and the symptoms will keep the heart failure from progressing. So,
I'm sorry, can you scoot over a little bit?
which way?
Right there. Right where you are.
Is it right here?
Yeah, just don't move
Okay.
too far off.
Okay, I think I see it. Like
Okay.
it's pointing the way.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, y'all can see me, everybody? Hi. Okay. But
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, y'all can hear me okay about peripartum cardiomyopathy?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you spell that actually?
Yes, so peripartum, P-E-R-I, partum, P-A-R-T-U-M, and cardiomyopathy. Or postpartum cardiomyopathy. So the postpartum, I'll explain that once I get into the story. So with postpartum, it's actually, after the pregnancy, which is what I was initially diagnosed with. I was diagnosed with postpartum cardiomyopathy instead of peripartum cardiomyopathy. I didn't learn about peripartum until I actually got into this work. Other than that, yeah, so it's a pregnancy-induced heart condition. I had started Let's Talk PPCM. Let's Talk PPCM is an actual global nonprofit organization, and what we do is we're bringing awareness to PPCM from all over the world to everybody, because obviously we never heard of it before until we actually get around a survivor or someone who's actually experiencing it. And then we also have a lot of women that's mixed diagnosed, so it might be pneumonia they diagnosed with, so it's a lot of misdiagnosis that's happening. Now, in my story, I started advocating in 2017, and what led to that was I had my second pregnancy with my baby girl. I have a son, oldest, and then I have my daughter. I had just got married, but in September. November, I was due for our baby girl. And once I had her, well, before I had her, I know around 36 weeks, I had started noticing like some fluttering or something in my heart. And I didn't think nothing of it, because the first time around it went perfect. I didn't have any issues or concerns or anything to be alarmed about. So I just, thought it was weird that I could feel something in my chest. And I remember asking my obstetrician, and I said, I know you don't normally do this, but I said, you think you can check my heart, because I've just been feeling something weird. And she was like, okay, so she listened to me, she checked my heart, she said, yeah, I do, I hear a murmur. And I was like, oh, okay, she was like, well, it's a harmless murmur, it'll go away after the birth. And I was like, okay, so I didn't pay no attention to it anymore. So I believe after the birth, everything kind of went well. I did notice that it took up to 30 minutes to remove my placenta. And at this point in time, I was not educated or aware to know to ask questions. I did remember asking her, what's taking so long, because I was ready to hold my baby. And she was like, oh, it's okay. And she said, we're almost done. And she was like, do you know your blood count or blood type? And I was like, blood type? I was like, no, I don't know my blood type. I'm laying there, my legs. I said, no, I know it is. And so she was like, it's okay, she'll get it. And I was like, okay. So after that, they cleaned me up and everything. She did tell me I had lost a lot of blood. Again, nothing to be alarmed about, right? So after that, I had my baby bond, and 10 hours later, I went into a severe hemorrhage. I ended up going into an emergency surgery that took up to 5 hours. And with that being said, I was unaware that I was actually hemorrhaging, because I was literally just bleeding out clots. I filled up those hospital pads they give us, long, but I filled them up, within an hour. I filled up 5 in an hour. And so at this point, I still didn't know. It was short of staff at the hospital, so the nurses couldn't really keep an eye on everyone, like they probably would. But I did have to call mine in before I fainted, because I called her in, I let her know, look, I've been bleeding, and I just wanted to bring it to her attention. And by the time she checked, like, it was already, almost too late for me, because I had bled out. So after they got me back, they got me stable, I was just completely unaware of what had happened. So they did educate me. The anesthesiologist came to actually educate me on what just happened to my body, and that they was able to save my uterus. He said it was this close to, ripping out my uterus, but fortunately they was able to save it. So at this time, they kept me about 7 more days at the hospital, just for, evaluation, making sure that I was okay and bleeding and everything was in control. After those 7 days, everything was fine. I remember before I left the hospital, I asked my obstetrician, I said, with all this that just happened, and, the flutter I felt in my heart, I said, can you just check my heart again, make sure I'm okay? I know patients don't normally do that, but at this point, this is what was on me to say. And she said, okay, so they sent up the echocardiogram. The echocardiogram is the actual scan that they use to see where your heart function is at. So once they did that, she cleared me. She said everything looked good on the echocardiogram. I can go. So I was like, okay, everything's a go. So 2 weeks later, I'm home, postpartum. I started to develop a cough. I had like a little cough. It was like a cold that I had came down with. I didn't think anything of it because I deal with sinus and allergies all the time, so that's nothing. And I remember the cough just kind of progressed. It kept progressing over the actual days of me just trying to hold back from getting help or receiving help. I think by the 4 weeks, week 4, is when I started having some pink phlegm. I had some phlegm and stuff that was coming up, and I felt like it was just so hard to cough it up. Whatever it was, they couldn't come up, and I didn't get to where I just actually thought it was something wrong until Christmas night. So at this point, we're 6 weeks out. So 6 weeks postpartum, I had noticed that it took me forever to get to our home door from the parking lot, just to get to our actual door to go home. And I'm like, I said, oh my God, I was telling my husband, I said, I just need a break. I said, halfway to the stuff, like, that's not normal. Like, it's not normal to be halfway home and you can't even make it half past the parking lot. So he helped me get up the stairs because we was living upstairs at that time. And so once I got up the stairs, we got in an apartment, and I just remember laying out on our couch. And I told him it felt like I just ran. I said, it felt like I just ran up here. Like literally, I was literally probably just doing this, walking. And it felt like I was running. So I still didn't think anything of it. And I told him, I said, it's probably nothing. I said, I've been dealing with this cold, and I didn't think anything. That night I started pumping. I was pumping. I made a lot of milk. So I was pumping every 2 hours, and within that 2 hour time frame, I noticed that my heart was just banging. It was really, really hard. I could feel it. And so I asked my husband again. I'm calling him, and I said, listen to my chest. I said, it sounds like my heart is beating so fast, and so he listened to it, and he was like, yeah, it is beating fast, I said, well, maybe because I'm pumping. Of course, that's me trying to change the narrative, So he's like, oh, yeah, you just had a baby, so just keep, calm down and stuff. But I was calm. I was just sitting there pumping. My heart just, going crazy. So I was like, well, I knew it was nothing wrong. It ain't like I was alarmed about anything or told anything to look out for anything at the hospital. So, I'm good, right? I'm good. So I didn't react on that. It wasn't until I laid down that night, it was probably about 2 or 3 in the morning after I was done pumping and everything. I laid down and I felt like I was underwater. Like, how when you're underwater, I don't know if y'all ever went swimming and you try to hold your breath as long as you can. Yeah, it felt like that when I laid down. So I immediately got up and I was like, oh my God. I said, that ain't never happened before with my sinuses or my allergies. So I had leaned over to text my dad, and it was like 3, 4 in the morning. And I was like, ooh, Dad, I can't sleep. I said, I can't breathe when I lay down. So that caught his attention. He was like, wait a minute, you can't breathe when you lay down? He said, no, you need to go to the hospital. That sounds like you got pneumonia, bronchitis, And I said, no, I got the baby, husband got to go to work, and I'll be okay. I said, I got my postpartum visit with the obstetrician this week, so I'll be fine, And he just was at unease, and he took it among himself to want to come and take me to the hospital. Thankful for having a dad like that. Okay, so after he came and got me, we went to the hospital. They started checking my vitals and everything. We did let them know that I had shortness of breath. Well, that's kind of what rushed them to see me in the first place. But when they rushed to see me, they had to do the x-ray. I couldn't lay down for a CT because I couldn't breathe. So they had to see what was going on with the x-ray. So they did the x-ray first, but in order for us to actually wait to get the results, I had to go back into the waiting room for 2 hours. So there was 2 additional hours. I'm suffering. I can't breathe. Don't know what's going on. I can't barely walk without feeling like I'm gonna collapse. And so I had to wait. So after I waited, they got me on back, and they noticed that you got fluid, in your lungs and around your heart. So we need to clear this, And so it was like, I was like, what, And so they did say my oxygen levels was at 82. I had an 82 oxygen read. You know, and I said, well, yeah, I can't breathe, you know. But I had high blood pressure, and blood pressure about 156 something, probably 156 over 101, I believe. And like I said, at this point, I just started crying because I was just like, you know, my dad was looking at me, so why are you crying? I said, I just know there's something wrong now. I don't know. You know, and so after they drained the fluid, they used a medicine called Lasix, and the Lasix had drained all the fluid. Also, I literally lost 40 pounds within like 10 minutes. I know, it was crazy. I thought I had gained me some extra weight from the pregnancy, but no. Turns out it was a health issue going on. So after they cleared the fluid, I had to go do the CT scan. I was able to lay down. I was able to breathe. I was like, oh, okay, I feel good now. You know, I feel like myself. Because I felt like myself before. I just felt like myself with a cold. That was it. That's all it felt like. So, like I said, I never thought it would be something, you know, serious. So after they did the CT scan, they noticed, okay, they came back. They said, you have an enlarged heart. We did see a nodule on your lung, and we need to get that checked. And I'm like, wait, what? You know, I was like, a nodule on the lung. You know, so a lot of this stuff had started opening up, just coming into the ER and trying to figure out, just because I thought it was a cold. So I do have to, you know, explain that to certain women. You know, even if you've got a cold or something, you just, you know, be checked out, make sure your heart is okay. And with the BNP test. So I'll talk about that soon. And once they told me my heart was enlarged, me and my dad looked at each other because, you know, at this point, we had just actually been healing and grieving over a loss of my older sister. My older sister had passed away from an enlarged heart 3 years prior to me being in the hospital at that time. And so the doctor looked, after we spoke about that, he looked at the chart, he looked at my valve, and he said, your sister died of a cardiac arrest. And I said, yeah, you know, and so my dad had said, and advocating again, not knowing he's being the advocate, he was like, well, yeah, you know, my daughter, she had just had a baby, you know, so, and he was all, well, the doctor was asking, well, how long was it, you know, after she had the baby? And so it was like about 6 months, you know, so about 6 months after she had the baby, she ended up dying. But it was an uncaused death. They didn't know what was wrong. They did throw some diagnoses out there, like pericarditis, but they couldn't really put an actual diagnosis on her. So when she actually went into cardiac arrest at 27 years old, they ruled it as a natural cause death, you know, and that's not natural cause at 27 years old and just having a baby. You know, that should have been looked more into, but it wasn't because we didn't know to push the issue then. So now I'm sitting here in this hospital getting this news. We're telling the doctor stuff. So now the doctor is like, okay, well, you know, we got some work to do. We're going to go ahead and admit you. We have to do this. We have to do that. So I get admitted, and they bring up the echocardiogram again. And I'm like, I already did that. I already had that done. They said my heart was good, you know. And so they do the echocardiogram, and it took about 12 hours for me to actually see the cardiologist. So basically another day. The cardiologist had came up and said he saw my results. He said that I was in severe heart failure. I was like, what? You know, like, how am I in severe heart failure? And so he said, I saw in your file that your sister died of a cardiac arrest 6 months after having a baby. I said, yeah. He said, you just had a baby, correct? I said, yeah, I'm about 2 months postpartum. You're suffering from peripartum cardiomyopathy. And I'm like, wait, what? No, postpartum. He said postpartum cardiomyopathy then. Because it was after the pregnancy, but I had started having the symptoms peripartum. And it was just kind of went undiagnosed. When I asked the obstetrician to actually listen to my heart at 36 weeks, she did everything she was supposed to do. So it wasn't her fault, you know, it wasn't no one's fault. It's just one of those conditions that just kind of sneaks up on you. And so with that being said, I was just in complete shock. I didn't know, what it was. I never heard of it before. And at this time, he had diagnosed my sister. So even though she had never had a diagnosis, he went ahead and diagnosed her with the postpartum cardiomyopathy. So we was able to change that in her file because so many women that do actually die from this aren't actually given the diagnosis. And now since COVID is now out, they're having the same symptoms as the PPCM, so it's all linked together. And then now we know COVID can cause heart problems, and now you got the pregnant women, and so it's a whole little ball game going on. Okay, so from that point on, I didn't see a lot of articles about PPCM. So I was just kind of, I didn't really focus on it. He gave me my treatment options. I went through the treatment options, like what is that?
Cardiac rehab?
Yeah, cardiac rehab. So I went to cardiac rehab. I couldn't really go the full 12 weeks. They wanted me to go 12 weeks. I went probably about half of that, and that's because having lack of support, being able to drive. They told me I couldn't drive anymore because my heart may stop. I was at a 15% ejection fraction, so my heart was like literally just ready to give out, right? So they was like, it was good. I came into the hospital when I did because my heart probably would have collapsed on me. It's the same, I would have been in the same situation as my sister, only this time I would have just been at home with my baby, you know, and my husband had to go to work, so that was just an ugly situation. So I was happy that I was able to find out in time. But once I got out the hospital, I think I went into a depressed state. I think I went into either, of course, the PPD, is what they try to warn women about, especially when you're having a new baby, because I still had to go home and be mom. I still had to go home and be wife. I was taking off work. He told me I couldn't even work, you know. I was like, oh my God, okay. You know, so it was a new life for me. And like I said, it took, I think, 6 months after my diagnosis. Cardiac rehab nurses just wanted to reach out. They wanted to do something and advocate for the hospital itself on the condition. So they brought in a news station. They wanted to actually do a whole article standpoint for this condition, and then also bringing awareness to their hospital. So I was okay with that. I was like, okay, you know, I'm dying slowly, but I'll help, you know. And they said awareness, so I was like, awareness. I don't know anything about awareness, but you know, hey, I'll do it. So I'm glad I did. You know, we shot the story. It aired about March 2017. At that time, I was wearing a life vest because he did prescribe me a life vest, and the life vest my sister had on one as well when her heart actually stopped, but it didn't save her. It didn't shock her back. So the one that I was wearing was different than from the one that they had previous. So at this time, the cardiologist let me know a lot of things has changed within those 3 years of losing your sister. The medication has changed, the devices has changed. I'm like, just within 3 years, like, you know, yeah, they got life-saving. I was like, wow. You know, so it was kind of harmful and hurtful for me because now I'm having that guilt syndrome of living, and my sister, she could have been saved as well. And now her kids have to grow up without her. She left behind 2 babies and a husband. And we are still feeling the effects of that today, and it's been 8 years now, almost. Okay, so after I went about a year as a patient, and I didn't know to look up anything else about PPCM. Like I said, I didn't find anything. So I went on Facebook. I had looked up PPCM, or I looked up Peripheral Cardiomyopathy. And then I saw these groups start popping up. I was like, wait a minute, you know, these groups, because at this point he told me it was a rare condition. So rare condition means I'm the only one that got it, right? Or being my sister, we the only one that got it. But no, that's not what that meant. Okay, so I found all these thousands of women in this group, and I had just introduced myself kindly. It was like, oh my God, you know, still more people like me and my sister. I introduced my story and who I was, and I got a lot of feedback, you know, from survivors on, you're gonna get through this, and oh, we did this, and I've been living 20 years, and I've been living 30 years. I'm like, wait, what? It's been around that long? You know, I didn't know it was around that long. You know, like, why we never heard anything about that? So I thought that was strange. So I asked them, I think probably about a month later, being in the group, just seeing the stories keep, and you know, and I kept seeing new members coming. I said, maybe we should take our stories out of the group and put it in, you know, the light, put it in public, so people can see, like, oh my God, it's not as rare as they saying. Like, these women are actually dying or developing this illness. So that, you know, a lot of the women did accept to go ahead and share their stories to bring it out. So I created a blog. So the blog page was Let's Talk PPCM, and I created it first on Instagram, and then I saw where Facebook was I was able to connect the pages and everything. So that's what I did. I started posting a few stories, and of course the Heart Sisters, we call ourselves Heart Sisters, they was able to come and support and be able to kind of help expand it all over the world, because they're all over the world, they're global. And I mean, even the UK, you know, got Nigeria, Haiti. So all of these women, you know, coming together to be able to push out their stories, and then being able to start the actual blog page was able to give them that voice and for that light for them to be able to share their own stories, which is what I was trying to do. And then also trying to aware the community and people around us that, hey, it's not as rare, so you can listen to it. Please listen to our advocacy. You know, we're just trying to warn women. We're not trying to scare women, because obviously we would have been those women if somebody would have just warned us, or maybe if we would have heard about it, like we heard about preeclampsia and you know, we got to do the glucose test and make sure that your body is doing this and doing that. You know, that's pretty much what we wanted to do. So from that point on, we started gaining a good following. More and more people had started actually wanting to be able to learn and educate themselves on it, especially a lot of pregnant mothers. They would reach out. From this point on, I did have someone say, hey, you maybe should start a nonprofit from this, you know, being able to educate. And I was like, nonprofit? I didn't know what that was. I was like, I don't know. You know, I was a postal worker, so I was like, I don't really do it. You know, but I mean, again, I was listening because I'm obviously a person that listens. I want to be able to help. So now I had to find where my spot was in this part. So I did. So 6 months later, it's about 6 to 7 months later, after starting the blog, we had about, I know, probably at least 100 stories at the most. I started the organization and became a 501c3 charity organization. So people will be able to donate to be able to help us create free services. So we're now providing free BNP blood testing for pregnant mothers or postpartum women who may want to know their BNP blood levels. And on top of this, we do ask them to be able to educate their obstetrician or their birth worker, midwife. Some women choose home birth and natural birth, and you can still go through the same condition. So we found it's not a link to no certain medications or anything, so it can happen in a natural state as well. It's just something that's releasing in our bodies that we don't know about, which is what we're trying to create the research that we can to actually see what is the actual cause of the source, because we don't know the actual source. They have a few things they think it may be the prolactin from the milk and the development, but they don't know exactly why it's causing women to go into heart failure, only with pregnancy. Okay, so with that, we create those, and then we also do the free postpartum wellness visits. So it is mobile. So either our phlebotomist or our nurse practitioner will be able to come out to wherever the patient is, or either they can come into the clinic. We do have a clinic that we're actually merged with Lumen Diagnostic Services in DeSoto, Texas. So that is something to be aware about as well. Our website is letstalkppcm.org. So you can look that up and be able to educate yourselves on what we do and how we're doing in the community and the next things that we'll probably be doing soon. But right now we're definitely trying to educate women on getting those BNP blood levels checked, and what that is the blood test that checks for certain levels of heart failure. So it's trying to see if the lady is showing any signs or have any type of heart abnormal. Or what is that? Abnormalities. There we go. Okay, so yes. So that's what we're trying to do. And I feel like my sister would have been saved had we had probably that, like the glucose test, you know, or if it would have been something that, okay, let's check your BNP levels while we got these other blood draws that we're checking and taking from you. Let's just go ahead and, you know, ship it to the BNP just to see if you have any hearts, you know, something going on that we could be aware of before it actually progresses itself. So now I'm like, why wasn't this around then? And it was around. It's just not a test that they want to use because they feel it's a waste of time, because they're saying, well, some levels will be raised if they're obese, and some levels will be raised if they have pneumonia, or, well, that's fine, but if she's pregnant or if she's just had a baby within a year span, then why not just throw it in there just to see, you know, because my BNP levels, normal BNP level is under 100, okay? My BNP level when I walked into that hospital in shortest of breath was 1,600. Yeah, it's 1,600, okay? And some of the heart sisters, theirs is 2,000, probably more than that. You know, I didn't even think grow that much, you know, and it just lets them know the severity. Oh my goodness, she needs to go see a cardiologist, you know, and then from that point on, the cardiologists pretty much know how to treat it. But a lot of the where we're actually having the problem is once a woman is reaching out to Let's Talk PPCM, they want to know, oh, how can I ask my doctor if I can do this and do that? Okay, we give them that resource, and we also let them know how they can actually advocate for themselves to be able to approach the doctor with that. But then the doctor turns around and say, what is that? Well, I never heard of that before. How do you feel being able to advocate for yourself, educate yourself about a serious fatal illness that only contains pregnant women, and my doctor don't even know about it? You know, like, and so a lot of women are like, well, maybe it's not nothing to be aware about. You know, maybe it's not important. That's not going to happen to me. Well, no, we can't look at it like that, because my sister didn't think it would happen to her. I certainly didn't think it would come after me. And my cardiologist was surely shocked that he saw it in the same family. He said he never saw it in the same family, but he get at least 2 patients a year. 2 patients a year. So this is just happening, and everybody's quiet about it. Because what we do is we isolate ourselves. We're now this sick person. So now when we're sick, we go and hide away because now I have to show that everybody that I'm sick. You know, that's not what I want us to do. You know, so we're trying to create, like, we even do like little challenges and stuff, you know, through Let's Talk PPCM, showing that we can be we're a patient, but we can still be ourselves at the same time. We can still go out there and educate and do what we can do to be able to help other women be able to understand the actual severity of the illness. And then not only that, on what she can do to either prevent severity of the symptoms, even if she wants to develop it. Don't be scared if you develop it. It's just something that, okay, I was already alerted about this. This is what I need to do. I just need to know my BNP levels. Okay, I'm gonna change my diet, you know, because our diets have to change. Obviously, they tell us that we have to, I was put on a sodium diet, a low sodium diet, and I couldn't eat or drink anything over 1,500 milliliters. So that means I had to go and chart every single thing that I ate every single day. I had to know how much water was in every single thing that I ate, even with oatmeal. So I had to measure the amount of water to put in my oatmeal and, you know, any type of liquid. And so I was just sitting there learning different things that I didn't even know about with my body. I didn't even know to be concerned about with my body, you know. So I found myself cooking a lot now because that's the only way I was able to stay away from a lot of the sodium that we have in restaurants. I didn't even know about, you know, how the restaurants had high sodium, and we're just eating this stuff. And like, you know, even in the Black culture, we eat a lot of the wrong things, and so a lot of the people be like, oh, well, it's a disparity and the racial disparity, and well, we're seeing a lot in the Black, you know, community because of sometimes our eating habits is not up to par to where it should be. We're not eating a lot of things. I know I wasn't eating a lot of the good things. I know they told me when they checked my sodium levels, they said it was shot. They said it was like over the roof. Like, you've been eating just salt. And I was like, well, yeah. So I was like, oh, well, you know, I didn't know, you know. I was just eating stuff that was good and I was craving. And, you know, so of course, you know, so they told me that my baby wasn't getting the nutrients that she needed. But then I had heard something later that she was getting the nutrients. So I really don't know about that part. But it was just something to be alert about or alarmed about if you eat too much sodium and may mess with your milk, you know, it just depends. Okay, so after starting Let's Talk PPCM, I have now been able to merge with other health workers, being able to educate and actually go and help the nurses, doctors, midwives, and just the whole healthcare about, you know, how we can either decrease the actual maternal mortality that we're seeing, because PPCM has now become the leading maternal mortality death in the United States. How did that happen? I don't even know. Like I said, I started Let's Talk PPCM in 2019. I didn't think COVID was going to come around. I didn't think all this stuff was going to happen. I just went with what my Holy Spirit told me to do. I did everything that I felt to do. And now it's done leading me here, be able to talk with you guys and be able to educate you guys, inspire, motivate, whatever it is, whatever it's doing, that, you know, you're doing everything that can basically save a life. You know, the things that y'all are doing, what y'all are being educated in, learning, and Miss Amy is definitely up to par. I love her. So you guys are doing a good job, and I'm proud of y'all. And I just really hope y'all, this story be able to educate y'all in some kind of way, be able to help you, just be able to understand anything more. I would love to take some questions. If anybody have any questions, I can definitely elaborate a little bit more and expand if you guys have anything. Or anybody online may have a question or anything.
Don't be shy.
It's just a lot to absorb.
It's a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which part is a lot?
I mean, it was a tragic story, but then there's a lot of things that, like, you feel like you can relate to, especially, like, advocating for yourself, especially in the healthcare setting.
Yes. We're definitely trying to let women know that it's okay to advocate for yourself. Like I said, with me being able to ask, but even, like I said, even with advocating, it could still go missed. It could still happen. So it has to be something put in place on, well, I did advocate for myself. Well, I did say that because I did. I spoke up. I said there was a flutter in my heart. I said, I did. I'm asking her, why am I bleeding, or what's going on, but you don't get the certain answers that, that can potentially be life-saving, I would say. But having a BNP blood test just to give the doctor the peace of mind and also the patient a peace of mind. And like I said, we're trying to create to where women won't have to reject, like, oh, I gotta pay for that, because sometimes once they get hit with, oh, well, you gotta pay for this, oh, I don't wanna pay for no additional tests, I'm okay, I'm gonna pray about it. It's like, no, just go ahead and get the test. And now you have, organizations like Let's Talk PPCM to be able to help mothers to just erase that part. Just don't worry about the paying and the test. We just want you to make sure that you're aware of your BNP blood level to make sure that you're not at risk for developing that severity of PPCM if you have that genetic, because it is a genetic disorder. So it's in anybody. They don't know who is going to become, who's going to develop it until they're in the hospital and heart failure, which is the sad thing. And we have found out with research that some of those genetic traits can come from the father. So if you're not aware of your family history, you don't know that, hey, I'm at risk for, or I could be at risk for this condition, if I become pregnant, or if you may know your sister, family friend, or somebody, that's pregnant, and she may say certain things, and then it's going to be alarm to you, like, maybe you need to get your BNP blood, just to let her know, I know this organization that, you need to contact them and see if you could, so just like stuff like that. So it's definitely going to take word of mouth, being able to actually educate everybody around us. Because like I said, even once you leave here today, if you was to go and ask somebody wherever you're going about, have you ever heard of PPC or Peripheral Cardiomyopathy? They're gonna be like, what is that? That's exactly what you're gonna hear, and that's what we're trying to change. So we're definitely trying to be able to, like I said, educate the community, be able to bring sources out that can be able to actually help women with this versus just telling them, hey, watch out. But it has to be things that you can do to be able to help. Yes, ma'am.
So just to confirm, it's not covered, like testing is not covered by most insurance?
So if they do have insurance, I believe that it can be a coverage. So that's a good thing. That's a good question. Yeah. So if they do have insurance, that you just brought back a whole lot of stuff. So with insurance, if they don't have health insurance, it is definitely really rough to treat their PPCM diagnosis. So fortunately for me, I did have insurance. I had good health insurance from that point. I was only 23 at the time, but I did know about health insurance. I lost my mom in 2006 from breast cancer. So I knew how tragic it was to be able to not have health insurance if something was to just go wrong. So, and then also with my sister's situation, of course, I just knew to keep something. I didn't know I would need it that bad and for that severity, of course, because when my cardiologist, when he diagnosed me, he came back in that room and he said, your insurance just approved your life vest, it approved your cardiac rehab, it approved your, it was approved, because of that health insurance. But then when we advocate for the other women who may not have know at that moment while we're educating them. And they would come back and say, oh, my insurance didn't, approve the life vest. What are we supposed to do now? What are we supposed to do now? Because how is she supposed to get her heart protected? Because the life vest is there to protect her heart. So what can we tell her now? So it's like we're trying to find ways around the health insurance. We want to be able to partner with the other organizations. We actually trying to partner with Zoll right now. Zoll Life Vest, they are the actual company who gives the life vest to the hospitals. So we're trying to be able to partner with them to be able to see how we can definitely either get some of the women who are actually in heart failure that need that protection. We had actually lost another heart sister. She had just been diagnosed with peripartum cardiomyopathy, and what happened was they weren't aware of the condition. And so they didn't know the severity of the condition. They just knew she had a heart condition, but not the severity. So they wasn't able to educate her enough about it. They just told her what she may be experiencing, because it's something that they kind of heard about, kind of, sort of. And I'm thinking, through Let's Talk PPC, us being able to educate, a lot of more people are actually getting the awareness that they need to at least know, oh, that sounds like you're experiencing that. But we don't need that. We need you to know that, oh, this is what I'm experiencing, and this is what we're going to do, or this is what we can do. And then, like I said, having that other organization be able to come in, because we do advocate for women. So let's say a woman gets diagnosed with PPCM, she needs somebody to talk to, an advocate. They come back, reach out to Let's Talk PPCM. We have that, get free advocacy, be able to send an advocate to be able to kind of coach her through some of the things that she may be getting ready to deal with or experience, and how she'd be able to cope with mom life and still trying to be a patient, because it's definitely really hard, because we're trying to increase our heart function while we're trying to still be moms. So we're stressed. We're worried, we don't know if we're gonna be here. Women are dying from it, and like I was saying with that mother, she died because she didn't have a life vest on. And we know that the life vest worked because our secretary of Let's Talk PPC, Bobby Leverett, she, wish I could bring her in. I have to have her in one day. But yeah, she actually went into a cardiac arrest 2 weeks after giving birth. Before she actually went into cardiac arrest, she did have some symptoms that made her go to the hospital. And so with those symptoms, they noticed that, you got some heart complications going on. And, that's when she was diagnosed with the postpartum cardiomyopathy. So they sent her home with the life vest, as they sent me home with one as well. Hers actually went off. 2 weeks later, her heart just gave out while she had just put the baby down, laid the baby down. And they tell us with the life vest, if it shocks you, you're going to shock everything around you. You could shock the baby, you could shock husband, the other kids. If they see mommy fall, they're going to try. So they have to come and educate and train about the life vest. So women get that. But see, a lot of women don't know that you're sitting in the hospital and your doctor don't know a lot about it. Who's going to tell you about it? So how are you supposed to know to go on with your life and not worry about it? And the doctor is going to tell you not to worry, because that's going to make your heart bad if you worry or if you're stressed. So that is definitely was a good question on that health insurance, because health insurance matters, especially when it comes to treating the actual heart, getting it out of heart failure. Some women are still in heart failure today, years later, because the certain treatment options that they was able to get, it was able to keep them stable, but it wasn't able to actually heal. I actually fully recovered from PPCM 2 years later. One of the medications I feel really helped was Entresto. So the Entresto medication that actually treats the heart failure, and that actually increases the heart function. So fortunately, it was able to increase my heart function. I went from that 15% ejection fraction to 55% normal. So that is pretty much my story and how I got into this world of advocacy. I did want to share with you guys that last year I did release my first book. It's called A Life on Pause. And it does lead up to the whole story, everything testimonial of all the health issues that you can learn about, from breast cancer, stroke, heart disease, and then even with the peripartum cardiomyopathy on what I actually went through. So it's just basically a good explanation of everything of that, how I got to this point in life. This book actually went national 2 days after the release date, so I'm very excited about that. And yeah, so you can also find it on Amazon. It's on Amazon, and it's Barnes and Nobles. So I did want to share that, and I have some little cards to pass out to you guys. Miss Anna, you'll be able to give the ladies on the
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
we'll
we'll
in a
get
couple
them.
weeks.
Okay, great. I did want to pass that out to y'all. So just in case you may run across some women who, you know, they may be saying certain signs or certain things. I did want to go over the signs real quick. So shortness of breath, that's like the main thing, pay attention to. Shortness of breath. And even though she's pregnant, she might still be pregnant when she's going through it. Just be like, you know, just something to keep an eye on. You don't want to scare her because obviously a lot of women, they're trying to keep a positive mind. But especially if they postpartum. If they're postpartum, you know they just had a baby and they, girl, you still have a shortness of breath? Or you got swelling still? You know, like, so the swelling really bad. So I know I had swelling. I had the shortness of breath. I had the pink phlegm that would come up when I coughed. And that cough, it was a different type of cough because you're not coughing up anything. The only thing you're getting up is pink fluid. So pink fluid I didn't know that was even an alarm thing to be aware of. Or red fluid. Sometimes a red fluid, phlegm. It might be red phlegm sometimes, like blood, so it just depends. But I do know that shortness of breath and the legs swelling, feet swelling. Sometimes they swell in their hands, just everywhere. Like I said, I lost 40 pounds in that just 10 minutes. So all that fluid was just packed up on me. So that's definitely, you know, how you can know to go ahead and let a woman know, maybe you should get your BNP blood checked, you know, maybe you should just, you know, start there. And then after, if her levels come back, you know, under 100, then she's good. She ain't gonna worry about it. But if it comes back over 100, you need to make sure you go get in to see a cardiologist if she can, because, you know, like I said, insurance matters nowadays, especially now. So if she's able to get help, she'll get the help. But then, like I said, we don't want it to feel like the organization isn't helping if the woman doesn't have health insurance, because she won't be able to get the certain treatment that she would need. So that is another thing. We're trying to educate patients on being able to have some type of coverage if they can, since we don't know, especially while you're pregnant. While you're pregnant, definitely make sure you have some type of coverage, you know. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. So how early in the pregnancy should a woman get tested for BPM, and then postpartum, should they get tested again?
That's a good question. Okay, so what we're trying to figure out is if a woman should actually be tested right when she finds out she's pregnant. Because we just don't want them to keep getting pricked on, you know, throughout the pregnancy. That's annoying. But I think that if we can see what your BNP levels is then, once we get to at least 2 weeks postpartum, she should have another one, and see if it done increased a little bit, or if it stayed the same, or if it did anything, you know. But if it increased or anything, it would definitely make a marker like, why would it increase? Oh, and if they will try to say, oh, well, pregnancy causes your heart to enlarge, and it causes it, but it's not supposed to stay enlarged. It's not supposed to stay doing that. So we're trying to see maybe during the start of pregnancy, leave them alone, you know, then probably about 2 weeks postpartum to check it again just to see, because our nurse practitioner that works with the organization was saying that because she noticed that in my situation, my symptoms started about 2 weeks postpartum, because remember I was, you know, I had stayed that extra week at the hospital, you know, but it wasn't no alarming symptoms. She checked my ejection fraction with the echocardiogram. It was normal. Everything looked good. So what happened between that time, 2 weeks later, I got this cough, and then 4 weeks after that, I am in severe heart failure, and they don't know what happened, you know, because they did everything that they were supposed to do. I advocated for myself, and I still went into heart failure, but they did help me get better, and that's how I'm able to educate everyone else. So I thank y'all. Is there any more questions? Do y'all have anything online? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
How long did it take for your doula training?
Oh, yes, I am a doula. Yes, I did. I became a doula last year. I'm very excited about it. I have been to multiple births now. They're natural experience births. and it's the greatest thing ever. I went through Adana International training last year, and it took me about 3 days to get trained and everything, so that was very quick and everything. From that point, we merged it with the Let's Talk PPCM, the organization, to be able to try to provide low-cost doula services for pregnant women, especially like women that will want to be educated on something that what we're doing. So just being able to provide that type of source of knowledge and just that piece, you know, that a woman can feel like to know, okay, I know that I at least have an advocate, because I mean, it's a mixture. You got your advocacy, you know, the doula, you know, and then having it all mixed in, and then also we go and talk to birth centers as well. So we have met with a few, well, I know over about 50-some midwives, just to be able to talk to them and educate them on certain things that they may notice, because we did have a midwife team not too long ago, about a month ago. They had a scare, and they brought me in to come and teach their midwives, because they end up having a patient who was diagnosed with PPCM, and they were unaware that she was going through the symptoms, because she was calling out for help, like, oh my God, I'm in shortness of breath, and I think it's COVID, and and the midwife was like, well, you need to do this, but they don't know what to tell you from that point on, because at this point you already done had the baby, so I don't really know. It's not the baby, it's not your pregnancy. No, you're fine. Go to the hospital. Okay, they go to the hospital, but then they end up getting mad at the midwives. They end up getting mad at the obstetrician, because they feel like it's their fault. You should have told me that I was, it becomes a whole ugly situation. So to prevent that, we want to be able to help educate the health team as well, is being able to also advocate and help the patients as well, being able to know how to advocate and how to ask for certain things, and how to basically team with your doctor versus looking at them as a threat, or so that is another thing that we are actually doing, and also creating that within the doula world. Yes, ma'am. Did I answer it?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
great.
interested in it, so that sounds
Okay, good. Okay, y'all have anything? You ladies?
I had one question.
Yes.
If you could you explain to me, I guess, how the life vest works? Because I know you said it was like a shock. Is it like a defibrillator, or how does it work?
Yes, ma'am. So it is a wearable defibrillator, and it goes around the woman's her whole torso, and it's like a bra almost. So it goes up under her breast area, and it's a pad that's right there over the heart, and then there's pads that sits on the back with the wires, and it's kind of uncomfortable. I wore it for 7 months before they actually put the implantable defibrillator, because I actually have the implantable defibrillator in me now. And the only reason that happened was because my heart didn't increase in the time frame that my cardiologist wanted it to. It didn't increase until after I got the ICD, and now he's like, no, let's just leave it alone, leave it in there, because of what happened to my sister. So I was fine with that. I was like, okay, no, it don't stop me from doing anything. So it do create, it had a hump in my chest, so I don't like that very much. But other than that, it's like a piece for me of security. But yes, so it definitely, as soon as the woman goes into a rhythm, or a certain cardiac rhythm, it alerts her, and it'll let her know, we're about to get ready to send a shock. Please deactivate if you're alert. So once the actual device, if you're alert and you push it, it's not gonna send a shock. But if it noticed something and you don't push it, it's gonna assume that you're passed out, and it's going to deliver a shock automatically, which is what happened to the heart sister that I said. When she put her baby down, her heart just stopped, and then the life, and she just remembered waking up, and she was hearing the vest was talking to her. It was telling her she needed to get to the hospital. It just delivered a shock, and she said she didn't even know. It was like she went to sleep. She went to sleep, or that's what she thought. And so once it shocked her, it delivers a blue gel-like substance, and that blue gel, it helps it defibrillate, so it just kind of brings back the rhythm to give the mother enough chance to get to the hospital. And so that is what we're trying to partner with Zoll, so we can at least be able to give certain mothers who can't afford that option to be able to have that level of security, because a lot of them have to get sent home without that level of security. So it's like you don't know if you're gonna be that one or not, you know, and definitely keeping up with the symptoms on what the symptoms is having. So that's how they're actually handling the women who don't have the devices or don't have a security. They just treating them with certain medications that can keep the symptoms from progressing, because if the symptoms continue to progress, that's actually what kills us. So that is, I hope that answered that for you. Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you. I had a question about that also. Does it also notify like emergency services if it goes off and the mother's passed out, or does it just kind of like alert around?
It don't. That would be definitely something good to have in there. It doesn't alert, no, it only alerts the person that's actually wearing it, because they know that once it shocks, it's gonna bring you back as if the EMT was there actually giving the shock. So once you're up, you're able to listen, and it's telling you, because it's going to just repeat itself until you're able to get to where you can either touch it, deactivate, or you just leave it alone, go to the hospital. So from that point on, once she was shocked, she had to call her husband, because he was at work. You know, a lot of times we're at home by ourselves, we're, you know, taking care of the baby, we're told not to work, and so hubby has to do everything that he can. So hubby is going to be gone, you know, most of the time, or the spouse is going to be gone most of that time. So she did have to call him and let him know, hey, I need you to, you know, leave now, come take me to the hospital, you know. So he did have to leave and come and get her, take her to the hospital, because we can't drive on our own. Or you can call 911, but in her case, she wanted to call her husband. That's what she felt most comfortable with. So really, it's what most comfortable with the patient. So like I say, if she don't have a significant other there, or she's just so happy by herself, she would have to call 911. You know, hey, I just got a shock. It says that I need to go ahead and come to the emergency, you know, and they pretty much know what to do after that, you know, because they already know she's a heart patient. It's just the mothers who don't know that they're a heart patient, you know, it's the ones that we're trying to get to make sure that they get the care that they're needing before those symptoms actually progress.
Well, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it, and we'll give a round of applause.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I was going to say too, that, on the side, we have a recording session in like a professional recording.
Really?
Why don't I set you up there? And then we can set, it's real professional, and then as if it was for a class, and if you're ever not able to come, I can use it too.
I'd love to do that.
Okay, well, y'all have a break, and then we'll get back together, and so I'll set that up really quickly.
Thank you.
Okay, take a break online, people. Thank you so much. It was so good to see you. I really appreciate you coming. Sorry, my directions weren't that good.
I just know I played over there last time when me and Miss had met.
Yeah, she's doing good. She has a job with the housing. She's doing really good. She's doing good.
Okay, that's good. I'm like, I know I see everybody online, but I don't know where I'm going.
I know. I know. I see all the stuff you're doing online, so it's great to see that. Very busy. No, I'll do it. I'll set it up. So what I'll work it with you in your schedule, but it's really like it's in a studio set, so you can do whatever you want to do, and then we'll film it, and then you'll get that, and then you can use little clips or whatever. So I think this, you know, the set is probably not the best, but what you want to have a special.
Yeah, I probably want to use all of it.
Just little clips and stuff. Yeah, okay, good. I thought it might be helpful if you wanted to use that.
I would. I mean, I don't know if I have a certain day.
Yeah, no, I'll say when you're no. What I'll do is I'll coordinate between the two of you, and then whatever day is available for you, and then I'll just meet you up there and then walk you through it. It's in the library. Oh, you're welcome. It's the least I can do for all of you. Do for women, what you do for us here. And bring some muffins home.
Okay, I will. I definitely will.
Plenty of stuff here.
Thank you, Miss Amy.